Against the Cold of the Reptile God was originally developed as a first edition module and has a bit of a claim under its belt as being a great D&D adventure. That was 40 some odd years ago. Of course, when looking at this particular mod for Neverwinter Nights, it's actually been out for a while itself, originally submitted on the OG Neverwinter Nights back in 2006. Now, if you have the Steam copy of the Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, then you'll find it under the Curator section of the community mods Beamdog has listed. Otherwise, I guess I'll go ahead and leave a link down below in the description so that you'll be able to source this mod a little bit easier. Now, this mod also heavily favors Druid or Ranger, as there are a lot of woodland interactions that take place. So that being said, I personally went Ranger for this particular playthrough, which you might want to take into account for my review. Also, because of the age of the creation that this is based upon, it means that it's set in the original world of Greyhawk. But with all that being said, remember, if you like this style of content, to go ahead and give a thumbs up, subscribe. Let's go ahead and dive in. One of the first things I want to mention about this mod is the set pieces and locales. A lot of effort went into the feel of this place to breathe life into the project. Some of the settings, while not necessarily eye candy, feel well orchestrated and thought out. There were several times throughout my playthrough which leaned into the 20-hour mark, where I said to myself, this feels like I'm playing a module over at a buddy's house. Also, I believe you could complete it sooner, but I wanted to finish all the quests. I did miss one, however. That's mainly because I thought I could be able to follow it up at a later date, and by the time I realized that I couldn't, it was impossible to backtrack unless I did a couple saves and retread through a few hours, so I just felt like that wasn't worth it. Now, also, what I liked about this mod, which you don't always see, is some thought into the fast travel. While it didn't exist all over the place, what happened was there were several well-constructed plot points interwoven to allow easy travel. This came in handy as there is a fair bit of loot to be found in the playthrough, and I personally took a character from level 1 to level 8 in the process, so you can imagine there was a lot of selling going on, there was a lot of trading going on, and a lot of full bags. Now, there's a lot of loot in itself. There are some really good thought out pieces that you can gather along the journey, and some interesting little notes left to help enable crafting of certain materials and give you sort of a fetch style quest, but it's never laid out exactly where you'll get those pieces that you need. It just comes down to exploring. It isn't something that you need to do, but it's something that along the way you'll stumble across some of these items, and then you'll be able to craft some of these interesting armors. You know, I've given it some thought, and looking back, I think this mod would be really interesting with almost any class combination, but if I was to personally play it again, I think that there's a little bit of favoritism also towards the monk, and so that'd probably be the next one that I would try. As for the general storyline, I have to say it's really top-notch quality. While the premise is pretty much in the title, the progression to making this happen actually involves meeting some really interesting characters along the way, while solving a few puzzles that really aren't overly difficult. I think a lot of this also harkens back to the tile set building as well. The storyline and the atmosphere coexist nicely to give it a more complete package. While I know this is an original tabletop adventure, a lot of effort has gone into this Neverwinter Nights module to translate that as well. Also, this mod has a great selection when it comes to even down to music. Well, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Against the Cold of the Reptile God has just about everything you'd want in playing through a story of Neverwinter Nights. It has a competent story, great atmosphere, decent progression, and quality music selection. In the end, I would be hard-pressed not to have this near the top 10 of custom modules I've ever played, and that includes other games that does custom content, so I really think highly of this module. It is definitely worth a look if you're up for some really good high fantasy fun. Well, that's it for this mini review of Against the Cold of the Reptile God, a Neverwinter Nights custom module. Remember, if you like this style of content, to go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe, but I'll see you on the next one. Later.